My name is Cliff Lisi, and I'm going to be sharing a verse with you. It's found in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. It's a powerful verse. It says, "Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God says, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." My wife, her mom and dad, they were probably the first to go to college in their family. And they decided to go to college and had to work and do the things that you got to do to get through. But then God, after her dad graduated, God called him into the ministry. Now, he had a career and he had an education, and this is way back in, I don't know, long ago. and yet he felt led to serve God and do God's will. And it wasn't going to pay what his degree would permit him to earn, but sometimes there are choices we have to make. And I think that's what the passage is saying. Keep your lives free from the love of money. There's so much that we could do, but sometimes God has a way of interrupting our lives, and I think in ways he tends to do that in all of our lives. I remember when I was in my 20s, I was pastoring at that time, and I felt like God was calling me and my wife to be missionaries in Colombia. And we were so excited we didn't even have a pet. We didn't buy anything new. We didn't buy new plates. We were going to be in Colombia. We were going to be far away, and we felt like it was exciting, the adventure of knowing that we were going to be able to serve God. But then about a week before we were commissioned to go, they discovered or let us know that the doctors had discovered an ailment in my wife. And so they told us, well, maybe in a year, maybe in a couple of years, you'll be able to go. And well, here we are. We never left to Colombia. We're still here. But then I ended up pastoring Hispanic churches for 45 years. Things don't always turn out the way we thought. They turn out better when God is involved. And if our lives aren't centered in loving money. I remember when I was in my 40s, I was pastoring in the city of Detroit right there on Livernois, and I felt like God wanted me to take a carnation to the neighbors. And I went across the street, and there's a lady sitting on her porch in the summer, and her little 5-6-year-old was right there with her, and I took her a carnation, and I prayed, and I told her that God loved her, and things that pastors do, only to turn out that about a week after that, I got word that a car had hit her son, the little boy, and dragged his body for about a block. And I felt I had a crisis of faith, to be honest. It says in the passage to be content with what you have. And sometimes what we have doesn't always have to do with money. Sometimes it's circumstances in our lives. And I felt like I needed to almost apologize for God That might sound crazy, but anyway, I went over to her house and I knocked on the door and I expected her to let me have it. And to my surprise, actually, she opened the door and threw her arms around me and thanked me. And I thought to myself, what have I done? What have I done? And she said, Pastor, and she wasn't from our church or anything, she was just a neighbor. And she said, Pastor, I think maybe God used you to help prepare me for what was coming. I had no idea. You didn't either. But God wanted to prepare me for what I was going to have to face. And so when we look at this passage of Scripture, it ends with the words, never. I will never forsake you. I will never leave you. It says it twice. Never, never will I leave you or forsake you. And sometimes in our lives, we feel forsaken. We feel like God has left us and that He's not anywhere. Sometimes it's because we've sinned, because there's sin in our life. That happens too. But even then, if we're willing to turn back and come home to the Father, there's always going to be forgiveness. So when doubts strike or seep through under the door of your heart like a dark shadow, don't let it overcome you. You be sure and know that He has said never, twice, never, never will I forsake you, never will I leave you. And so God bless you today. If you're in that kind of a situation, remember, never, twice, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. God bless you. Thanks for being able to share a great verse with you today.